Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 56 in the book of Hebrews. Let's get right to the brass tacks. Today I'm going to title this Using the Future to Help with the Present. Now, you're going to have a problem today. So you're going to have some temptation or an attack or persecution or a sin. And all you have is today to act on it. But today we're going to have the past and the future help us with the now moment that we're going to face today. So the author of Hebrews is going to ask us, he says, hey, look to the past. Look to this cloud of witnesses that we've been talking about incessantly in chapter 11, and look to Jesus. Look to these two kind of groups of people that have done well and in their real time, what they did is they used the future to help their now. And similarly, we are supposed to use the future, the promises of God, banking on those promises, claiming on those promises, remembering those promises, relying on them to help us with our now. That's called faith. So Jesus did it well, the cloud of witnesses does it well, and the book of Hebrews is a call to have a similar type of faith. So let's turn to Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. And I want you to pay attention as we read it to the timing of the things that are happening. There's a past, there's a present, and there's a future. Okay, so here it is, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses from the past, let us also lay aside every weight, these are the nows, and the sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. So that's all the now. And one more past here, verse 2, looking to Jesus in the past, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him, so he looked way into the future. He endured the cross, despising its shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Okay, so we are surrounded by a cloud. We're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. We're also kind of surrounded by Jesus, both from the past, who did something that is admirable that we need to learn. So people who are doing this walk well, and were doing this walk well, and they exerted the correct behavior and thoughts and in what we're calling faith when it was their presence. So since we're surrounded, these people and the example of Jesus should make a difference. So we cannot be neutral about this. We are supposed to kind of use what we learn from them to help us with our now by looking to our future. So you may be familiar with rucking. Now, rucking is when you're doing a hiking thing and you just purposely put weights inside of your backpack just to make it more difficult. And the author of Hebrews is saying, wait. Lay aside the weight. Get rid of the weight. Get rid of the sin that attacks us, that wants to be so close to it, and lay it aside and exchange clinging sin for what? Well, the cloud of witnesses and the witness and the example of Jesus. And then it's going to allow us to run better, to run the race that is set before us. Now, let's just be honest, is the Lord sets before us some difficulty. The Lord knows and allows difficulty. Even for Jesus, this is not a cakewalk, but God is present. He's been there. He sets a race before us and allows us to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, as it says in Psalm 23. He allows us to have he sets up a table before us. So he's there in the presence of our enemies. Well, I don't want enemies. I don't want shadow of death. Well, that's not the way life is, and you know it. So how do we best endure this? Well, we look to the past, to the people, to the cloud of witnesses, and we look to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. So how is Jesus a good example of this essential element of faith? Well, he uses the future to help with the present. Write that down. He uses the future to help with the present. He looked to joy way ahead to help him do what he had to do with what was on his plate on that day, which was endure the cross, endure the shame of the cross. So people, we're supposed to be looking to the future promises, that's called faith, to help us with our current particulars. So the Lord, here's the good news. He's here. He cares. He came. And then he examples for us. So he looks way ahead to the joy, to the completion, to the throne, to the heaven. Why? To help with the shame and the pain of the cross. Therefore, we're supposed to kind of do the same thing. So we're supposed to be looking to the future to help us with what's on our plate now. And we need to be trusting in what's way ahead to help us with our thinking about the challenges at the present and using what is to come to set our mind on what is current. And so we're claiming the succeeding truth, these promises, to assist with the reality of today's problem. So faith is this thinking about what's in store down the road and entrusting our way to what is straight away right before us. So faith is using the future to help with us now. A new definition for faith if you're writing them down. So the author is saying, let's look back to the past example of the cloud and of Jesus. So why is this? Because we're going to have trouble before us. So we have a now problem. If we don't have it right this second, we're going to have it within the next 24 hours. And all we have is today to act on it. But we have access to the past. And the past examples here of this cloud of witnesses and this example of Jesus. And what do we find both of them doing? We find both of them using the future to help with their now. And we're supposed to be modeling that and banking on that same kind of activity. That is relying on the promises. Why? Because we're ultimately relying on the promise keeper to help us with our now. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're calling faith. Jesus exampled it well, and this cloud of witnesses exampled it well. This will help us with our today as we act by using the past and using the future to help with our now. Thanks for listening.